our next guest shook up Hollywood by becoming a Golden Globe and Oscar-winning leading actress, losing her hearing at just 18 months old. Marlee Matlin had to fight for chances others were given more easily and faced years of being told there weren't roles for people like her in Hollywood. But she became a trailblazer, known for her beauty and her brilliant acting. Now, Marlee is taking what she's learned as an actress and pouring her heart into a new short film as an executive producer. I can say this might be one of the most beautiful stories I've seen this year. It is a tearjerker. It's inspiring. It actually had me thinking well after it was over about life and how we treat other people. Feeling Through follows the story of Tariq, played by Stephen Prescott, and Artie, played by Robert Tarango, whose paths cross at just the right time for them both.
This guy's blind and deaf. You gotta tap him and let him know when he gets to 129th Street. His name's Artie. Excuse me, sir. Could you tap him and let him know when he gets to 129th Street?
Sure.
No, not sure. He just wants to get home.
I'm gonna take care of the man.
Artie.
I'm gonna take care of Artie. Get him off the bus at 129th Street.
Thank you.
Marlee joins us now with her interpreter and longtime producer, Jack Jason. Marlee, congratulations on this film. It is just spectacular. So this was taken from parts of a real life experience.
It was. Thank you for having me on the show, by the way, Tamron. Yes, it is actually a true story. Well, it's based on a true story. The film, Feeling Through, was written and directed by the actual person that Tariq is based on. And he met a person who was deaf and blind and spent some time. And he used that experience and kept it in the back of his mind for 10 years. And at one point, he just decided, it's time to tell the story. And this is what you see here.
You know, the entire time in the film, Marlee, you're thinking, what would I do? Because this chance encounter happens in the wee hours of the morning, as my mother says, when good things don't happen. And it is, will you stop to help someone? Will you put yourself in their shoes? And that's what we watch on this journey.
It is something that, Tariq, the character of Tariq was, searching for a place to stay for the night. And he was extremely focused on himself and a little bit troublesome. And then he had a chance encounter with Artie. And it was probably somebody he's never met before, somebody who's deaf and blind. And he thought maybe, well, okay, I'll pity this guy for a second. I'll help him out and give him some sort of assistance. But then at the end, it ends up that Artie changes him. And in that attempt to get Artie home, Artie is the one that helps Tariq find purpose in his life. It's all about the humanity of two different people. It's an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener for Tariq, and not to take life for granted. And things will be all right.
Well, your career and life have been an eye-opener for people as well. You've gone from hit shows like The West Wing, The L Word, and Switched at Birth, just to name a few things. But at the end of the day, you are a household name. This, a child who at 18 months lost your hearing, and to be lauded across the world internationally for being one of the best actresses of your time. That's a surreal journey.
It is surreal, especially for my family, because, at the end of the day, for 35 years, it's been a wild ride. It's been a very interesting one, too, to be able to see how things have changed, particularly as they relate. Of course, I find myself embarking on a lot of missions. I talk about the importance of closed captioning in film and television, the importance of showing interpreters, both hearing interpreters and deaf interpreters, especially hiring deaf actors to be on screen in deaf roles or even on stage. I have a lot of causes, and I hopefully won't be doing them alone, trying to get more and more people on board.
Well, you will have that and have had that because of your openness as well, your transparency on this journey, which has been difficult because you're a deaf actress, but also just the struggles that you faced in your life. In your book, you wrote about your autobiography, I'll Scream Later. You talk about battling addictions and your time in rehab, and said you never felt more alone or more frightened in your life. Did being one of the only or the groundbreaker in that field increase the pressure and the insecurities in your life?
I think the bottom line is when I put myself, for example, in rehab for my addiction, which was 34 years ago, and I'm still sober to this day, I remember thinking, I was just 21 years old. Okay, I just finished my first film, Children of a Lesser God. It's a big deal. It's the first deaf person starring in a film to be on the big screen, to carry the movie. I knew that something was ahead of me, although I didn't know what it was.
Mm.
But first, I had to clean up my act. And I did it all by myself. And it was just a light that went off in my head and said, you just got to do this. And it ended up being a miracle. And I think the best advice I could give to people is to listen to yourself. And that's what I did. I listened to people, myself, and people like Henry Winkler, my mentor. I mean, he's been my mentor since I was 12 years old. It was just a matter of listening, following your gut, making and doing the right things, and doing it as best I could.
First of all, what you just said was so beautiful, and you got me in tears. And then you mentioned Henry Winkler. I was so fortunate to win a daytime Emmy. Our first season of the show, I pick up my phone, and in my DMs, a note from Henry Winkler saying congratulations. And here I was watching him my entire life, and I had a chance to interview him a couple of times. But the fact that we share Henry Winkler as somebody who's inspiring us is even more spectacular.
He's the best. He's the best. He and his wife, Stacy, and their family are beautiful people. He really helped me pave my way through Hollywood. And as personally, too, he's just a lovely, lovely man.
You are originally from the suburbs of Chicago. You've been married to your husband, Kevin, a retired police officer, for 27 years. You have 4 children. Do they look at all you've accomplished and ask, how did you do it? How do you explain it to them?
I guess the best way I can say is that Kevin and I, when we met and started dating, I think we talked about getting married. We talked about having a family. And the question that I had for him when he proposed is, and of course I said yes. And then I said, are you ready to accept what I do for a living, which means I'm going to be a parent, but I'm also going to be traveling. I'm also going to be working on a film. I'm also going to be, there's so many things I have to do. And he said yes. And true to that, 27 years later and 4 kids later, it was basically talking about that we all have to work together. We have to have, of course, you always have to have great in-laws to help with kids, but the kids understand, because we made it a point to explain to them that this is the lifestyle that I lead. They understand that mom has to go and travel. And I always make a point of sharing my journey with them. That's really important, communication.
Well, your family is absolutely beautiful, and it's just a pleasure to speak with you and spend some time. And I'll tell you again, I'm putting my TH stamp on this film. It is beautiful, and I could watch it over and over again and see something new in every scene that we could learn from. So thank you again, Marlee.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to see you.